Happier is the fourth studio album to be released by the Los Angeles native metalcore band Volume since about 2009. And there's a lot of bands that one of my viewers described them as one word plural band names. I mean, like Counterparts, Currents, Varials. You can even lump Architects into that group if you want. But for some reason, Volumes never really pops up on my radar that much. But their music is always appealing to me. Their first two albums reached like top of the charts, and they always release fantastic sounding music. They just, I don't know, they don't pop up on my Spotify that much, I guess. I don't really go out of my way. I forget about them sometimes. In fact, I couldn't remember if I did a review on them in the past, which I did. Did a review on Pixels, which was one of the singles released off their last album. And I found that one to be actually kind of just middle of the ground. I think I gave it like a 2.8 or something like that out of 5. And I don't really know who the guitarist is in this band because currently I don't think that they have one. So I don't know who's writing most of the riffs on all of these songs, the bass player or drummer. But I think that might kind of be the reason why I have the issues I have with this album. I want to go over some of the singles first. The first one being Bend. It seems to be about somebody who's not really compromising in a relationship. It seems like it starts out with some synth and some drums, and the verses are just vocals and synth. And the vocals sound fantastic, and they're super clean and full of sadness and emotion. And the chorus is a solid hook. However, at the end of it, when it says over and over again, I get like this really strong butt rock kind of Nickelback vibe from it, specifically probably in the vocal tone, and it's probably just the whole delivery and all. And the bridge has a really good atmosphere to it, and it's an all-around good song. But then you have the song Get Enough, which is the complete opposite. It has distorted vocals, the clean riff is very gritty, and the performance and the delivery is fantastic. The chorus has these high, airy cleans that create like a huge contrast between the verses and the chorus. The vocals have a little bit more power behind them in the second verse, and then once we get to the second chorus, the clean vocals are back from distorted vocals, which helps out quite a bit. The bridge is very heavy in terms of bass tone, and it's kind of awkward, but it eventually all comes together. And I love the isolated lo-fi effect thing that they do going into the final chorus. It's absolutely magical. The album opens up with one of my favorite songs on the album, which is FBX. It has a really cool synth beat mixed with some very low-tuned guitars and drums. It creates this very haunting atmosphere. And of course, the guitar is tuned low throughout the whole album, but you get a real strong sense of just how low the guitar is. The vocal cadence plays off the rhythm section, sounds fantastic. The distorted vocals sound really good as well. The chorus has a really good groove to it by filling the empty spaces with a fuller sounding guitar riff, and all the transitions throughout the song are perfect as well. Then it goes into the heavy hitting song Malevolence, which comes in with tons and tons of aggression, and the verse is nasty. And I like how it kind of becomes a little genty at the end of the verse, but not too much. The chorus has some really good vocals backing to give it a little bit more depth. The lyrics are simple, but they work really well with the malevolent kind of melody going on in the background, and the bridge is very bass heavy, and the guitar sounds so good in the mix. Letdown has a strong intro that fades into a synth and drum filled verse, and I really love that they didn't make everything fade out except for just the drums and the vocals in the verse. All the instrumentation is very strong throughout it. It gives it a lot more feel, a lot more textures to the song. The clean vocals sound really good, but once it gets to the chorus, it's kind of weird. I don't know if it's artistic choice or whatever, but it sounds a little bit weaker. Maybe he's like kind of winded, or maybe he's let down. But the distorted vocals do help out quite a bit to give it a little bit more of an impact. I believe that the lyrics are based on having to deal with a toxic person. In the breakdown, he really expresses how much he is let down. And it goes into the next song, Man on Fire, which has a very dynamic intro, and the vocals and the background melody is beautiful, but this song is just all out aggression. I feel like he's expressing his frustration around what I believe to be the riots that happened in 2020, where a lot of cities were caught on fire and kind of burned down, and there's fires literally everywhere. And yeah, I feel like it has a lot to do with that. I'm not completely sure, though. I'm just going off of the lyrics, and honestly it just sounds like a full-blown mosh song that they pretty much made to be performed live to get the energy going. My favorite song on this album is Weighted. It's got tons of grooviness in the music mixed with the clean vocals. It just sounds so freaking good. Has a very uplifting kind of quality to it. And the distorted vocals bring a lot of heaviness to it with a guitar riff. And the chorus is very bouncy. It's pretty heavy. And the hook is solid as well. The cleans in verse 2 add a little bit more depth with it by with a chugging guitar that's added in there. And the bridge is basically just this giant buildup going into the breakdown. It's very dynamic sounding song. I really love the airiness to it. It reminds me a lot of something that Deftones would have done on Diamond Eyes or something like that. Then we have the song Into You or Hurt. It starts out on the chorus and it has a very dirty sounding guitar tone, a very light, upbeat kind of drum work. And the contrast between the two is very nice. And the clean vocals sound fantastic as the distorted vocals eventually come in. The verse is mostly drums until the hostility just breaks out going into the chorus, and the post-chorus really gets the song going into the bridge, which is probably, it's not one of my favorite songs, but the bridge is one of my favorite moments on this album. Then directly after it, we have the song Void, which is very vocal focused in the verse, and it's very genty. I would say this is the first song that they basically made completely genty, where there's just a lot of gent moments throughout some of the other songs. The cleans in the chorus are huge. It's very powerful with a strong hook, of course. And the bridge and the breakdown is pretty dang heavy. It's probably the heaviest part on this album if it wasn't for the outro on this song as well. And the last single to be released and the closing track on the album, which is the title track, is Happier with a question mark. It's about, I believe, losing a lover without really getting any closure and being full of regret of things that were left unsaid. The guitar riff is very powerful. It's full of a lot of emotion, and it brings a lot of, I guess, lightheartedness to the aggression in the vocals. And the chorus is very intimate, very goosebump inducing. It's got this great drum passage, and the clean vocals in that sound fantastic as well. Very heartfelt lyrics as the bridge gets kind of emotional as sounds like he's trying to move on without getting that closure. And then the final chorus is great, and it's got this very ambient sounding outro that goes on for a little bit. Fantastic closer as he kind of goes through all these different emotions of being in the relationship throughout this entire album and having to deal with people who are toxic and not really willing to compromise in their ways within the relationship. And then finally now it's over, and he's kind of questioning if he's happier or hopefully, they might be happier. It gives us closure without him really getting closure, it seems like. The only song that I didn't really like was See You Again. I mean, it has really good distorted vocals that are mystifying. The riff is very nice, has some great dynamics to it. The chorus has a really good hook, but the music doesn't really change throughout the entire song. The bridge is very quick, also doesn't offer a whole lot of variety as well. And honestly, this song basically sums up what I didn't really like about this album. And by saying I didn't really like, it's just something that I kind of noticed that, I don't know, I didn't really care for. I just wish that there was stronger riffs. They have genty moments within it, which kind of gives it more dynamics in the songs, but still, even those sections just kind of sound the same after a while, and it becomes very daunting. And considering that about half of the album is based on these genty kind of sections, the guitar work in between is very distinctive, but it's still very noticeable. And not saying that the songs all sound the same, but you kind of start to feel like you've heard these riffs before. And every once in a while, like a really cool one will pop up. You'd be like, that's good. And then you go on to the next 2 or 3 songs, and you're just reminded again of how all these other genty riffs. And I feel like that has to do with the fact that they don't have a guitar player. Maybe the bass player is playing guitar on this part, and being a bass player, which is a little bit more of a genty kind of inspired instrument, especially in this band's kind of genre, maybe that's the issue they're having. I have no idea. But yeah, I just had issues with guitar riffs not being as prominent, not being as strong throughout the entire album. Like, I know that they can do, because a lot of these songs do have some great stuff in it, but like I said, it's only about half of the time. One thing I did love about this album is that the songs themselves have a lot of variety within this album. They have softer songs mixed with songs that just straight up spit fire at you without being overbearing in either direction. Even the radio-friendly singles sound fantastic, and they avoid being overly generic, sounding like, Wage War Architects. And the clean vocals mixed with the distorted instrumentation on these songs keep it from sounding too much the same and not really formulaic, while at the same time still being kind of formulaic in the sense. I mean, they have songs that start out with distorted vocals, and then they have cleans in the chorus, where normally the cleans in the chorus would be kind of gentle, the music would just be whatever, atmospheric with some synth stuff, but instead they keep the heavy distorted guitars in the chorus with the clean vocals. It just sounds so great. Or they'll go the opposite. It'll be a little bit more cleaned up musically, and the distorted vocals will come in, and it just hits so much harder in either direction, and it sounds beautiful. So with all that said, I gotta give Happier by Volumes a 7.7 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Happier. If you haven't listened to it yet, give some of these songs a listen and let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. While you're down there, let me know what you thought of Happier. Leave a comment below letting me know what I should also review next. If you want to help support me and my channel and just make me feel good about myself, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. Doing any of those things helps me out tremendously, and I appreciate it more than you guys could ever imagine. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you have to be watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying ignorant, kid relying on my parents said to save me. Years gone by.